Today on the Freddy O Show, we have Ryan Stanley. He wants to help you set the stage for the performance of your life. We got sales secrets, mindset hacks, and Phish on this episode. It's going to be bonkers. Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Freddy O Show, a podcast devoted to you, the listener, your purpose, your mindset, and your marketing efforts, designed to help you go to that next level. Now here's your host, Freddy O.
Welcome to episode number 7 of the Freddy O Show. Lucky number 7. Yes, that's my favorite number. But before we get the train rolling, I wanted to thank you so much for tuning in today. It's always a pleasure to have you aboard, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, sincerely. A friendly reminder, you can access all podcast show notes from today's episode at winwithfred.com. Also, the Freddy O Show is available on these other fine apps. That is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, and Castbox. I truly appreciate your support. It means the world to me. Now, as we enter into today's episode, get ready and hang on tight because it's going to be a fun ride. We have Ryan Stanley in the house, and he is ready to drop some knowledge today. He is a lifelong entrepreneur with a strong background in professional life, business, and internal coaching. He is also a husband and a father of 2 boys, screenwriter, author, and a Phish fan. I told you we were going to be talking about Phish. I'm excited to have Ryan Stanley on today. Ryan, welcome to the Freddy O Show.
Freddy O, so happy to be here. Thank you so much, man. Good to be here.
Awesome. So let's get started. Who is Ryan Stanley?
Ryan Stanley is a guy who grew up in northwestern New Jersey, is currently a father, a entrepreneur, a author, a speaker, a coach, a thought leader, and entrepreneur. I might have said entrepreneur twice, but I'm pretty passionate about it. You throw in Phish Fan there, and that pretty much gives you a quick glance of who I am.
So real quick, you have kids. How many kids do you have?
2 boys, 9 and 6.
Okay. Being a parent's pretty tough, huh? Sometimes?
It's got its days, but I would say really my 2 favorite things in life are definitely parenthood. Actually, parenthood is my favorite thing in life. Coaching is a close second. I think while it is tough, they're definitely the 2 places where I find I'm constantly teaching and learning at the same time. So always lots of opportunities for growth in being a parent.
Wait till they hit in the teenage years. And it's still, I love my son. He's actually home now. He was in New York City. He got sent home right before they did the lockdown.
Yeah.
And he was going to school at AMDA, which is a art school. And so it's very, very, I love you because I'm very protective, so when this was happening and sometimes he's like, Dad, you got to let it go. Come on.
Dial it back a little bit, Dad.
I'm grown up now. I'm almost 20 years old. I know everything. So, So you've been doing this since how long? When you started?
I've been being a parent for about 9 years. No, just kidding. In regards to coaching, I've been coaching for about just over a decade. So 2009, I was certified. Okay.
What was the biggest struggle you had when you started doing coaching and actually venturing into the online world?
Yeah, so I attended my training in 2009. Before I was a coach, I actually came from I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur or worked for startups. So right before I started coaching, I was working as an artist manager. I was working in artist management, working with bands. And there was aspects about it that I loved. There was aspects about it that I didn't love. What I loved was really just connecting with and empowering people, especially working with creative people, working with artists, working with musicians, being able to be in a live music space. There's a number of things I didn't like, but knowing that my passion was around connectivity, a lot of people don't really realize or think about the fact that musicians are entrepreneurs and they are creating a product that they want to sell to the masses. And so I loved showing them that their large goals were possibilities and were options. And I loved setting up specific plans and stepping into their greatness and being there to celebrate it. So that to me ended up being coaching, really. I mean, in October of 2008, I had like 3 conversations that all involved coaching out of nowhere. And I was like, well, that sounds like what I want to be doing. And it doesn't involve all the things that I don't want to be doing. So this is a long way for me to answer. But so I enrolled in a program called IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, in 2009. They actually asked me to start working for them before I even graduated. I met a lot of leadership in the organization and we had some synergies. And so I didn't have to jump right in full time. So I was able to, work with IPEC. I was their internal coach. I coached their staff. I worked as an admissions coach where I coached a lot of their people who were interested in their program. I coached them around whether it was a good path for them or not, all while also starting my own, online practice. So it wasn't too much struggle as much as it was more of a creative endeavor that I was, able to step in on a regular basis.
So let's go back to the artists, the musicians.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of, let's say you've probably dealt with a lot of them, of musicians, a lot of them prima donnas.
I wouldn't say so. The musicians are definitely creative people, right? So that coming in. So prima donna, I guess I've met a lot of prima donnas. A lot of the people who I worked with weren't necessarily. But sometimes, a lot of musicians hang out with other musicians, or you're gig sharing, or these different things. So I've certainly come across many. But in a coach's standpoint, really typically somebody who goes to a coach is somebody who wants to be better, wants to be more the best versions of themselves. And so that's one of the things I like about it. You're working with people who are willing to invest themselves financially, but also time-wise and energy-wise. And so most of the people I've worked with, I would say, are not prima donnas, but I'd say you certainly, of course, come across people whose behaviors are unique.
So
observable.
As far as musicians, have you dealt with any musicians that you would think that the Freddy O Show fam would know?
You know what? I worked with a bunch of different people. I mentioned earlier that I'm a fan of the band Phish, but so their lyricist is a guy named Tom Marshall, and he has a band called Amphibian that I managed them for a while. And their guitarist is a guy named Anthony Kryzan, who played in the Spin Doctors and has played with John Waite, and has a pretty extravagant career. Played with Noel Redding, the bass player for Jimi Hendrix, and so I those are people that might come across. There's a band that people in New Jersey will know called Karmic Juggernaut. They're kind of a progressive, aggressive rock band from the Jersey Shore, and I worked with them for a while, and that was fun. I worked with another woman named Cece Coletti, who was a backup singer for Meatloaf. So people know Meatloaf, but maybe not necessarily Cece. So it's bits and pieces here and there.
Well, and here's the thing. It's not about how big they are. It's as far as the prima donna question. Yeah. It's more so they're an artist. And it's their art, and it's hard to stray them away from their art, obviously, how they want it. And have you ever had it to where you had a musician that you were like, oh gosh, this is terrible music?
I can say that I've worked with bands that I didn't love their music. It just wasn't my style or my taste. But I couldn't say that I would ever work with anyone that was terrible. I don't think I could. And at some point, you're just like being authentic every day, because then you have to sit there and tell them that they're good when you really don't believe they are.
Why does Ryan have earplugs right now in his ears?
So, you guys, I'm going to sneak out for this one. Why don't you guys go about it, and we'll catch up afterwards.
It sounds like a lot of fun, though.
It is. I mean, it was great. There was aspects of it. There was a reason that I got into it from a management standpoint. I mean, I do love, I was younger at the time, and I wasn't really starting a family. So it was cool to go out to New York City and get some hang time and just be part of the growth and part of the scene and meet other bands and, just kind of hang out, be the side of a rock star life. So there's aspects of it that were awesome. Definitely.
So what did you do actually, as far as you just coached them on, what did you coach them on?
Yeah, so my coaching clients, now I spent the majority of my career working with musicians. That now I've since over the last couple of years really focused on a broader audience. I work with CEOs, I work with doctors, I work with authors, I work with anybody who's interested in really being the best version of themselves and getting their ego out of the way and choosing to live on purpose. But musicians, it's funny, typically when they come to me, it would be more about like, hey, Ryan, I want to get an album made. I want to get more gigs. I want to build up my social media following, like very left brain stuff, which is, of course, what people want to do. But really, typically, even by the end of the first conversation that we had, it turned into more about like, what is your mindset? What is your thought process? What are the what's your internal dialogue like? How are you waking up each day? What are your core beliefs? What are your values? How is all that coming into play with who you want to be? Because once you can get all that clear, then the other stuff will fall into place, from my experience.
Okay, so now you just brought up a question, left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
And I don't explain that to me, if you could.
Yeah, and that's layman's terms, but the left brain really is the analytical. It's very technical. It's very, it's like math or writing or, it's very like number driven, like very specifics, right? Of like, hey,
decision making?
Chisholm making?
decision making.
Oh, decision making.
I didn't say. I probably did say Chisholm, but
Yeah.
decision making.
Yeah, decision making.
I'm marbling my words right now. Go ahead.
No worries. It must be the passion. It's the passion. It's all good. No, so decision making sort of. So the right brain is really creative. So the right brain comes where we're a creative process. So the art. A lot of people who are artistic in some capacity utilize more of the right side of the brain, and people who are more analytical use the left side of the brain.
So is impulse right or left? Obviously right.
Yeah, impulse I believe is right.
Okay, cool. So you talked about
not to be confused with correct.
So you talked about daily rituals and things to make themselves better, to be the best they can be. Okay. What type of daily rituals do you actually do on a daily basis that you think that you know, if you don't do them, you're going to be out of sorts? What kind of daily rituals do you have?
Yeah, and I don't think it's so much about out of sorts as much as it's just about living on purpose, right? So for me, anyway, that's my experience. So my daily, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's not looking at what's the worst case scenario as much as, hey, I'm not living on the best case scenario. So for me, having the routines are, I wake up every morning between 5:30 and 6. I get up, I come down, and I meditate for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour plus. To kind of get my brain straight, to be present, to understand the value of being present, to let my body and my mind feel that way to start every day. After that, I exercise for about 25 to 30 minutes. Then I come into my office where I do what I call my I am statements. I'm all amped up, right? Energetically, I've got all the adrenaline flowing through my body from exercise. And I spend time doing some daily affirmations, just thinking about who I want to be in my life, saying it out loud, being grateful for the outcome, imagining it, and enjoying that time as being who I want to be. After that, I sit down and journal a little bit, like what's my plan for the day? What does my calendar look like? I kind of get some plans. I set up some things. Also, I write down some things that I'm grateful for. I set up some goals for the day. And goals aren't necessarily specific tasks because there's a separate area for that. But the goals are like, hey, I want to be present with whomever I'm with. I want to be joyfully productive. I want to, give love to my family. Whatever it is, like how I want to be. And then I write down tasks. Okay, I want to be sure I email this guy. I want to be sure that I have a great coaching session. I want to be sure that what all the different specific tasks are.
Okay.
After that, I do a little bit
out every day.
Yeah, exactly. So I prepare for the day, and not that I get everything done every day, but at least I'm starting my day off with intention, purpose, and follow through. Right. I do a little bit of stretching, and then by the time that's all done, it's like 8:30. I go up, I take a shower, and kick things into gear.
Right when you said that, I started stretching my arms. So
yeah.
That's fantastic. So what with life coaching,
yeah.
What do you feel is your biggest strength when it comes to helping people realize that they're not put on this earth by accident?
Yeah. And thank you for putting it that way. That's an amazing way to say it. I would say my biggest strength is empathy and understanding. And truly, I'm a great coach, to be honest with you. There's a reason why I am doing what I'm doing. I'm a good listener. I'm able to really meet people where they're at, and a lot of the time hear what they're not saying. And hear what they don't even know that they're not saying, but they are saying, and then ask them questions around that to help them look at it from a detached perspective, and then help them take action on that. And, I'm an easy guy to be around. Happily, I'm proud to say that's my intention every day is to be somebody that people want to spend time with and want to learn from and want to, my intention is to be the light that I want to see in the world so that others can see it, want to be around it, and magnify their own.
That's awesome. And that's fantastic. So I'm going to go to you on your website. You have that you closed $22 million in sales, I believe, in 8 years, which is it's not chump change by any means.
Sure.
When it comes to sales, that's one of your strengths, obviously.
Yeah, and a lot of the time that's just about understanding people. So I have another company which is called teachmetosell.com. And it is a sales training. It's an 8-week sales training course for people who are coaches, who are solopreneurs of some sort, people who are fitness trainers, people who are maybe in direct sales, like that, but who want to serve the world in some capacity. So we're calling them SOSs, or service-oriented solopreneurs. And so I partnered with a guy named Kirk Van Linden. Kirk is a sought-after sales trainer. He's also a coach, but his superpower is sales training in particular. And he's done hundreds of millions of dollars in sales for Fortune 500 companies and been sought after to train their staff to do the same. And so my superpower is the mindset. I've had a strong background in sales as well. So the combination, really, he focused more on the details of the training, and I focus more on the details of the mindset. And so it's a perfect combination to help our students really not only gain specific scales insight. So to go back to our earlier conversation, it's the left brain and the right brain, right? So the left brain of like very specific skills, coaching questions, know how to use a specific sales process. And then the right brain of the creativity, of the curiosity, of being present, of deciding who you want to be and empowering yourself to be the best.
So what do you see most solopreneurs, entrepreneurs doing wrong when it comes to sales? Why are they not making sales?
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is fear, right? And that actually has to do with just about everything in life. In some capacity, they're afraid of offending somebody. They're afraid of asking for too much money. They're afraid that they're not good enough. They're afraid, all these different fears that are natural and come up for us as human beings, but don't serve our purpose. And so a big philosophy that we really stand behind and use to guide us is A, doing the right thing for every person, every time from a sales capacity. And B, recognize that you're serving and you're not selling. Like if, I'm to come to someone and say like, hey, I have coaching. I'm not trying to sell them my coaching. I recognize that they have a need to be a better version of themselves, whatever that means to them. And I happen to have a great product that does it. So instead of getting caught up in what the fear of them, I don't know, should I charge or what should I ask them? It's more like, hey, this is what I do. This is how much it costs. It looks like, and what I've heard from our conversation, this is what you need as well. What questions do you have? Like, how do we make it happen? And it's genuinely an authentic thing as I would do to a friend. It's really more about making friends than making a sale, right? You're not looking at people with a dollar sign on their head. You're looking at people as like, hey, how can I make a friend today? How can I create an opportunity for a relationship to help people move forward in the best versions of themselves?
I love this. So you have 4 simple words on your, what's the name of the site again? And this will all be in the show notes, everybody. So
yeah, of course.
What's the name of the sales site?
It's called teachmetosell.com.
Yeah, you have stop selling, start serving.
Yep. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that. Have you always had that attitude when it comes to sales, or did that come into fruition in your journey to where you realized that you maybe were doing it wrong at first?
Yeah, I think maybe when I first started years ago as an entrepreneur, there were certainly aspects of that came into play, selling my own stuff. But really, as I really decided, especially once I kind of shifted into coaching about 10 plus years ago, I recognized that what I was doing was serving. And I really was just excited to meet people who just wanted to improve their life. And so I knew that I was serving them, and I knew that I had something that could make their life better. And to be honest with you, what I love most about coaching is I can't say most, but one of the things I really love about coaching is that when I'm working with people and I'm coaching them around certain truths in life and helping them get clear on certain aspects of what it means to be a human from my perspective, I'm reminding my subconscious of the same things. So to kind of answer your question, I know even when I'm setting up a conversation to see if we are working together, I know just by doing that, I'm serving them by also stepping, into my greatness a little bit more. So it is a constant win-win scenario.
You are like very upbeat. I love this.
That is one of my intentions. So thank you for reflecting it.
Well, you got me. You got me there. So when it comes to like the secret sauce, if you were to, it sounds like authenticity is one of the biggest things in building a relationship as far as selling.
Yeah.
And people have a lot of different, I've had people try to say, this is how you're supposed to sell, this is how you're supposed to sell. But back in the day when I was in the car industry and I was a service advisor, basically selling was me just showing them what they needed, and like you just said, and putting myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
In a way. What other secret sauce could you give the Freddy O Show fam that could give them a significant edge, or is it just that?
Well, I mean, there's asking great questions, really it's not just asking questions like, hey, what do you do? How's the weather? It's like, hey, when you first start any sales conversation, you get to know somebody a little bit, like genuinely and authentically. Like, hey, I'm not asking you how the weather is where you are. I'm asking you about yourself so that I can see where there are synergies. And when somebody is a prospect, they want to know, A, can they trust you? B, do you know what you're talking about? And C, do you care about them in some capacity? Right? Because once they feel those 3 things, they're going to be, people make decisions based on emotion and then back that decision up with logic. So if you can meet them where they're at let them know, and it's not BS, you're not lying to them, but let them know that you care. That's why you're doing the service that you're doing. Let them know you care, let them know and show them they can trust you by being authentic and asking them questions and maybe sharing some information about yourself. And then obviously it helps to know what you're talking about. Like, if you, in our capacity, like if you are not passionate around your product, if the product that you have isn't of value, you don't believe it's a value, no matter what we teach you, it's not necessarily going to work. And if it did work, then we wouldn't really be the type of people we want to work with anyway, because we don't want to sell. I don't want to work with somebody who wants to sell things that they don't believe in.
100%. And honestly, when you see how sometimes sales are sometimes scripted, I despise that.
Yeah.
Especially when somebody hits me with something and it sounds scripted.
Right.
It's frustrating. People would ask me like, how do you sell these jobs? And they're a simple job, in the car industry, but still, how do you do it? I'm just me.
Yeah.
I show them what they need. Authenticity and just being real. That's fantastic. So if you're listening to this, authenticity, being yourself, and not being scripted is very important.
Yeah. And obviously, listen, man, if you're starting off in any capacity, there are aspects of a script that can help somebody who's new to sales. So it's not that you never want to have any ideas written down, but I'd recommend more in a bullet point, right? And get used to the words that you want to utilize, or even just to have a process to go back to, because you also want to be having a purposeful conversation, right? You want to know ahead of time that what the outcome is going to be, and you also want to prove to be an authority in the conversation. So you want to kind of control, not in a negative way or an overbearing way, but if it is a sales conversation, you want to be able to be yourself and be authentic, but also know why you're there. And that also, to be honest with you, gets a positive response. When people feel like they're being guided in some capacity, as long as it's not overwhelming and it's done with authenticity, you're able to move the call along and then help the outcome be more of what you'd like it to be.
Now, in sales, one of the hardest things for people is overcoming objections.
Yeah.
Does your sales course go over that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So I really, all this stuff is going to be in the show notes. And I know a lot of people that I know personally, fitness trainers that have been trying to get sales. They've been trying to do a lot of the online sales. I love automation, but I do believe that there has to be a certain aspect of personal touch.
Definitely.
No matter what you do, you can't, because they have to get to know, like, and trust you. And if they don't do that, they're not going to buy it from you unless you're lucky. And I think that your course would be fantastic for that kind of person, whether basically any kind of sales. Am I correct in saying? I know you talk about coaching, musicians.
Yeah, I mean, we focus on, from a sales standpoint, we focus on solopreneurs, but we also, actually, that's not true, because there are other people. If you've recently started for a company that has a wellness objective and is really there to kind of make the world a better place, and maybe you're new to sales and that's why you started working with this company, but you're not great at it, we'd love to work with those people as well. But typically, like, we want to do work with people who are service oriented in some capacity, are altruistic, and do want something in the grand scheme of things that does better life on earth.
Now, with coaching, what kind? Because coaching, here's the thing: I've coached a lot of people when it comes to building their business online, strategies. What do you do if you have someone that you give them a task, or you tell them this is what we need to do, and the next week you go, you talk to them and they haven't got any of that done? What do you tell them? How do you present that?
So I heard you say strategy. I don't know if it was an internet connection mix up, so I missed a little bit after the word strategy, and then I heard, how do you tell them?
Okay, so basically you have it to where so let's say I give my student A, B, and C, okay? Yeah. And next week they come by and you said, okay, so let's see those A, Bs, and Cs. Yeah. And A, Bs, and Cs aren't done.
Yeah.
How do you address that?
Yeah, and so especially, that's a great question from a coaching standpoint. So it depends on the client, and it depends on how many times this has happened. So a lot of the time when people are making great changes in their life, the fact that you're going to a coach is a sign that you're ready for some change. But if you're the first week, you kind of don't do it, like, that makes sense. Or especially, if you did A but not B and C, that's one thing. But if you're not doing A, B, or C, like, we're going to address it. I'm going to acknowledge them and validate where they came from. And, it does make sense they didn't do it, because this is all new to them. But it's also going to say something to me right off the bat if your first week in, you haven't made any intentional changes. Now, the second week that happens, like, okay, it's something we might spend some time really coaching them why they think they're not doing it. And if by the third week that's happening, even not all the way, but a majority, then it's like, listen, maybe you need A, coaching isn't right for you. B, maybe you need something a little stronger depending on what you're doing. It might be some sort of a therapy, right? You need to kind of go into why are you not functional? Why are you not taking effort? You're spending your money and your time with me to get this done. If you're not doing it, there's a challenge here. And they can feel that too, right? So I've certainly worked with, in fact, I had a client recently who was like her sixth session in a row. She kept telling me she's going to do stuff and kept coming up with excuses or canceling sessions. And it just ended up not working out. So you do need to be willing to do the work. I think that's the whole point of working with a coach. I mean, even if you take the old school coaching from a sports perspective, if you're not showing up to practice, if you're not doing the exercises, if you're not making the task necessary to be the better athlete, your coach is going to be like, hey, listen, you're not on the team. Are you here? You're not here. So there's an opportunity for growth there.
And a lot of it's a mindset, because like you talk about the fear of success, they have a hard time getting out of where they're at right now and into that realm.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's fear. And it's crazy because fear, false evidence appearing real. It's just not there, And I used to have honestly, I had a fear of the camera, fear of talking in front of people. And a lot of it was I was holding on to stuff from the past of something that may have happened. And really that's holding me back. And it's silly because the future is right in front of you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for people to let it go. So sort of talking them down and saying, listen, okay, you are better than you're giving yourself credit for. And not saying better as far as I'm the best, but your potential's there.
Always.
Utilize it.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like someone, if they're not, if it is like that first or second week and they haven't done it, like we'll probably likely spend a lot of the session not necessarily talking about why did you do it, but really getting into your point, like the fears, like who are they? How are they showing up? What would they like to be different about that? So, you said you were going to do 3 things. You haven't done any of them. Why is that? Okay. We talk about that a little bit. So great. What would you like to be different about that? Well, I would like it to be done, obviously. Okay, cool. So why do you think you're not? Like really when it comes down to it. And a lot of the time they'll come up with reasons that often blame other people or different circumstances. But really in the grand scheme of things, it's just about us not deciding who we want to be and not being willing to step out of our comfort zone to do something about it.
Absolutely. Love it. So with life coaching, is it you have like a weekly life coaching group, or is it like one-on-one?
Both, right? So the Teach Me to Sell is a class, right? So it's a weekly thing. You meet with us a couple times a week as a group. But for my coaching, it's one-on-one. I also do speaking engagements. I do some corporate things here and there. I've recently published this book, which has been, I'm doing a lot of podcasts. And so there's an opportunity for me to kind of speak about that as well. So I really, it varies from week to week in a great way. That's one of the things that's kind of by design.
And all this information will be in the show notes, fam. Okay. So your book. You wrote a book, Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful, a first aid kit for the emotional bumps, scrapes, and bruises of life.
Yeah.
Can you go a little deeper into that?
Yeah, happily. So I, as a coach, over years, through my own personal growth, for working with others, recognize there's some basic things that I tend to cover often in my sessions. And basic things in the sense that they're things that we can all do and are really just not doing because of human nature and our past experiences. And as this growth was coming along, I also have read a lot of books or listened to a lot of books on Audible anyway, and I'm not a great reader. I don't want to necessarily spend 300 pages like reading. I get to page 27 and I'm, reading the same page over and over again. Like my brain wanders and gets distracted. And so I was looking for a book that typically right now there's some, and this isn't to belittle any books or saying they're not good, but in fact, they're great and they can be life-changing, but they spend 100 pages telling you what they're going to tell you. And then they spend another 100 pages telling you what they're telling you. And then they spend a third 100 pages telling you what they told you, which is good because it helps your brain understand the concepts. But I was looking for something like, listen, man, I'm having a bad day, something I can give to my clients if they're feeling stressed, they're feeling overwhelmed, and they just kind of want something to pick up and read through it in 25 minutes to have some concrete actions that they can take to feel better about themselves and their life. And I'm not saying that there aren't those out there, but I wasn't finding one that really stood out to me. And so as a kind of a lifelong entrepreneur and somebody who likes to create things, I just thought it would make sense to create a first aid kit for people to have. And so the book was written with 2 purposes. The first one is that, just as I mentioned, you can read straight through it in a short amount of time, and you can immediately take away some concepts that can serve you in the coming day, right? Immediately. And for the rest of your life, if you practice them often. And I'll get into those in a second. But then the second thing is that you can, at any point, if you're just having a stressful moment, even after you've read it or before, at any point, if you're just feeling you're having a tough day, you can literally pick it up and open it up to any page. And it was physically designed to where there's something going to be on that page that will pop out to you and stand out as something that could serve you in the moment. Whether it be a highlight, whether it be a quote from me, whether it be just different blurbs. There's quotes from other people. There's all sorts of things on there that at a point it would stand out to you how this could serve you. So it is, in a sense, like first aid for an emotional or stressful moment.
Love it.
Go ahead.
So now you're gonna give this book away for free, and that'll all be in the show notes. So, but it's gonna be the PDF version. But you guys know it as well as I do. Having a book in your hand, like an owner's manual, okay, is the best thing in the world. So I'm gonna have that link on there as well because it's on Amazon, and it got raving reviews. So definitely you want to grab that book and keep it on your bookshelf or keep it next to you on your desk because it can really, really help you out.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, Freddie. I would say what's also cool about the physical one is it's intentionally physically small. Like you could put it in your pocket, you could carry it in your glove box, you could put it in your purse. You can carry it with you wherever you go. And at any point, if you just need a quick open up, and on the back, there's spots for notes. So if you want to take notes on something that stood out to you today and made you want to open this book, there's areas for that as well. So, the physical copy, you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Barnes & Nobles, you can get it at ryanstanley.com. If you're just, in March when COVID really started to kick into gear, and I recognized that people all over the world were suffering from all sorts of different stresses and overwhelmed, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, I did want to also give it away for free for people who weren't interested, especially people losing jobs or whatever and spending more money, but felt like they could use this. So you can get a PDF. It's certainly downloadable. And like you said, it'll be in the show notes. But click on there and you can download it. But if you have the means, I'd recommend personally, just from as I would, obviously it sounds like it's biased, but really from a friend standpoint, I would say it's a cool thing to just be able to physically carry with you as well. And
like you said, COVID has brought out a lot of, it's hard to explain. As far as I don't want to say demons, but it's brought like a dark shadow over a lot of people and how they can react to things like this. Because honestly, we're truly blessed in America and the country we live in. And to have something like this happen, it's put a lot of people in a really hard spot. Yeah. And they can't go anywhere. They're around their kids more often, which is good, but to them, it's not, it's new. Sure. They're not used to it because they're so used to sending their kids off to certain places. And it's really, really been a tough situation for a lot of people. Have you had any, like for you personally, has it affected you at all? To be honest with you, I'm under the belief from my small perspective that this situation has made people more of what they already were. And so much like money, for me, it has had a really positive effect on me, to be honest with you. As silly as that sounds, I've spent more time with my family. I've been working harder on my business. I don't have distractions like kids' sports games and birthday parties and things like that, or even other social events on weekends. I'm able to really just focus on who I want to be every day. And it's really, every aspect of my life has grown exponentially. So I hate to be that guy. I don't hate to be that guy. I'm blessed to be that guy. And I'm excited that I'm intentionally being that guy. I know it's different compared to a lot of people's experience, but I think there's a lot of people who are also in a situation where they've been working extra hard. They have had more time. They've made the best of this situation. It's not even making the best of the situation because at any given point, if we come down to it, life doesn't, and this is a weird thing to say, especially in this circumstance, but life happens for us and not to us. And when we start spending so much time thinking that life is happening to us and everything that's going on around us is really the result of our outcome or causes us to be a certain way, then we're giving power to everything else, when really the power comes from within. And when we start recognizing that life is happening for us, even a global pandemic, and we decide, if I wanted this to happen to me, I don't know why I would want this to happen to me, but if I did, what could that possibly be? And you get genuinely curious about that, and you start taking action on that potential outcome. Things start to unfold and open up for you in ways you probably would never imagine. Well, I know one thing. As far as working from home, I love it. Yeah. And I see people that are like, I don't know what to do. I can't do it. Okay. When I first started doing it, it was hard to set a routine. But yes, I actually love working from home. And I completely love how you were straightforward to the point. It's true. It brought out of who they really are at that point in time in their life. And yeah, the way you look at things, perspective. everything's about perspective and what you have in front of you
Totally.
and what you can do with that, and not make excuses, not attend one of Ryan's life coaching sessions and not get the A, B, and C done,
That's right.
not grabbing the book, not taking advantage of simple ways that you can increase your sales by being more personable, being yourself, and not just being a salesman, but being a person that wants to legitimately serve that other person. And I think that goes a long way, way.
Thanks, man. I mean, I always say, I agree 100%. And I say, people are like, well, what are some basic tips, Ryan? It's like, listen, here's the deal. And this is my honest belief. If you wake up, if you start today, anybody out there who's listening, if you want to change your life, you literally want to change your life. It takes dedication. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not something that happens in a day, a week, a month, a year, sometimes less. But I'm saying you need to have patience with yourself. That's why the book, the first chapter of the book is be patient. But make some time today to write down who you want to be. Decide who you want to be. I don't know if you're a fan of the Avett Brothers, Freddy, but there's a band called the Avett Brothers. I'm a big fan. They have a song, and the lyrics go, decide who to be and go be it, right? So decide who you want to be. Write it down. Literally spend an hour today if it takes that long. But make time to write down who you want to be. Think about it, because you are, in that sense, creating your life. You're creating a North Star. You're creating a compass for yourself. You know who you want to be. You just haven't made the time to really think about it. Or you've just thought of all the reasons why you can't be that and all the excuses and all the things outside of your brain that are keeping you from doing that. But disregard all those things. Write down who you want to be. Then make some time to think about and be grateful for that outcome. What would it be like? How can I absolutely believe that is a possibility and step into that? That's like A and a half. B is starting tomorrow. Wake up in the morning and read that out loud. I'd mentioned that I do it every day. I do it when I start my day and I do it when I end my day. You're doing a couple different things. First of all, you're speaking it into existence in some capacity. From a quantum physics level, you're making it a reality. Secondly, you're reminding your subconscious on a daily basis of who you want to be. And when you have conversations that fall into your lap throughout the day or different opportunities for connection, you're going to be listening subconsciously for other things that you might not have been before, because now you're programming your brain to be on purpose and to be listening and to be on the path of who you want to be. So that's A and B. And then C is, by doing all of that, remind yourself to be the light you want to see in the world at the same time. Like, do it with love, do it with intention, do it with purpose, do it for the greatest good of all. And when we do that, we stop coming from a place of competition. We're not competing to be the best human or better than any other person. We're creating to be the best version of ourselves and help others to do the same. I mean, the whole world can grow, and you can have a global impact in that way.
A, B, and C.
There you go. Now taking it all back. No, that's what you have to do for the next week.
No. It's so simple. Yeah, and I fell into that realm where I had a hard time with it, but it is so simple. I'm actually gathering some great golden nuggets right now of what you're saying that I'm going to implement into my own life.
Love it. And
it's fantastic. That's why I'm not a life coach, and you are. That's why you have the certification. That's why you're the best at what you do. So I love it. Love it. So I'm going to have all this stuff in the show notes, everything, any way possible you get a hold of Ryan, and make sure you go to the show notes and you take action with it. Get the book, grab the book, put the book, in your pocket, put it on the dash of your car, wherever you're at the most. Do that. And if you start feeling down, look at the book and realize that it's really not that bad,
And real quick, I will say you're right. And in most cases, you're absolutely right. It's not that bad. And that's not to belittle anybody's experience, because there are some seriously traumatic experiences that happen to people all the time, all over the world, right? Life is a crazy adventure. And so I certainly don't want to take away from anybody's experience and just say, hey, it's all rainbows and unicorns. Don't worry, just be happy. Don't worry, be happy. I am saying that there's something that you can do about it intentionally. I am saying that the prologue of the book talks about the fact that we are all creators. And at any given point, we are creating something. You and I right now are creating two men recording a podcast. If I wake up in the morning and I decide to put on blue socks, blue pants, blue shirt, a blue hat, I'm literally creating a man dressed in blue. If you get out some bread and you throw on some mayo, some bacon, some lettuce, some tomato, you're creating a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just want to prove the point. With that, we are always creating. Even if you're sleeping, you are creating a person who is sleeping. And when we laugh, we create laughter. When we are sad, we create sadness. When we're angry, we create anger. frustration, stress. These are all things that we are actually creating, often based on things that are happening around us. And so when you start to recognize that I'm creating in any given moment, and you ask yourself powerful questions like, who do I want to create right now instead? And you ask it with authenticity instead of blaming what else is happening. Yeah, but you're saying, who do I want to create right now? How can I create a person who's patient? How can I create a person who is present? How can I create joy in a moment that doesn't feel like there is any? And that's what this book is about and really kind of steps into. And then the epilogue, so that's it. There's 5 chapters. Prologue, you're a creator. Chapter 1, be patient. Chapter 2, be present. Chapter 3, be joyful. And then the epilogue is keep going. On your worst day and on your best day, if you use those 2 words, you will step into your greatness every day and grow to be more of who you want to be.
That usually happens at the end of the show where I say, can you leave us all with something that's strong? But that's right there is it. That's right. So we're going to go right into the super hyper fast Q&A round because
I'm ready.
That was fantastic. So here we go.
4. My answer 4.
Okay. No, that's not right. Well, it could be. There's a movie 4. What movie did you see that you were disappointed in, but everyone loved?
What movie did I see that I was disappointed in that everybody loved? Oh, man. I really want to have a great answer, and nothing's coming to mind. Let me just code it whether people loved it or not. Movie that I was disappointed in. Can I pass? Can I come back to it?
Come back to that. Come back to that. Put that in the memory bank. So it's okay. Do you sing in the shower?
Not frequently, but I'm not opposed to it.
And if you were to sing a song, what would it be?
If I were to say, so typically I listen to a lot of music when I'm in the shower. So I'm listening. So this is where I'm not singing. So whatever's playing. But I would say it would probably be something by the Beatles or Phish.
Okay. You like the Beatles and Phish. That's the second time someone's brought up Phish in the first 6 episodes of the podcast.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. I got to listen to Phish. I love Pearl Jam though, but yes, I will listen to Phish.
Can't go wrong with Pearl Jam. Go ahead. I don't want to cut your speed off. We're in speed round.
No. You're right.
Phish, by the way, go see Phish. Find them on the YouTube and go spend some time with them.
Are they still doing live shows? Well, not right now, obviously, but
up until now, yes. In fact, they have a thing here's a little plug for Phish. Every Tuesday night, they do a thing called Dinner and a Movie that started once COVID kicked into gear. And they do a live show from the past on YouTube and their Facebook page. And so you can watch a whole concert. And then they also send out they have some dinner recommendations so that they give out a recipe and everybody makes the same dinner. They have a song called Dinner and a Movie. So they do this thing every Tuesday night, Dinner and a Movie. And then people also, whatever show is playing, they have an opportunity for you to donate to a certain fund, a certain charity.
They have a cult following, if I'm not mistaken.
They do. That's a perspective. I'm a member of that cult following. So, but yeah, I mean, I've seen them over 100 times. They are definitely still.
Wow. That's awesome. You are a big fan.
I am. I'm a super Phish nerd. Happy, proud to be.
Okay. What's your favorite emoji?
My favorite emoji is, God, I'm a loser. I'm not a loser. I don't use emojis that often, but so I guess smiley face, that's a lame answer, but that's how I feel about it.
Hey, smiley face is good. You're happy.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Favorite episode of Seinfeld?
You can't go wrong with the contest, obviously. I'll say the contest.
Contest is a great one. Okay, so Jerry, Elaine, George, or Kramer, who would you want to have as your next door neighbor and why?
I would say probably Elaine, because she feels like it's like I feel like I would want her to be my Elaine, right? When you look at the relationship of like just this cool chick that you can kind of hang out with, but also mock and be mocked by, like a best friend type of a thing, like a chick that's a buddy, like that. So I would pick Elaine. You
know what's crazy is I'd pick Kramer. I don't know why, because he would take all my food. But my son loves watching Seinfeld with me. Yeah. And he goes, Dad, I just realized something. These people really aren't good people. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. They're not.
When it comes down to it.
They're really not good people.
Right.
Serenity now. That's awesome. Okay, what movie did you see that you were disappointed in, but everyone loved? If you can come back to that one.
I'll come back to that one, and I will say, I don't know why, but I'm drawing a blank. I'll go with the most recent Spider-Man movie. How's that?
I did not see it. My son said he loved it, so there you go. And it did get good reviews, which that really doesn't matter, but in a lot of cases, I would say Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is mine. The new one. I don't know why. I just couldn't get into it.
The challenge is,
just
I think,
weird.
part of the reason that
But
I'm
yes,
having
that's a good
block
answer.
here, is I don't watch a ton of movies. I don't watch a ton of TV, and I really haven't in a long time. And this is definitely all about me. I get bored really easily with television and movies. Like for some reason, I just can't stay present. So I find myself being disappointed often. It has nothing to do with them.
It has to. No, but the thing is, I'm the same way. It has to grab me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't grab me, that I don't watch a lot of TV. I spend a lot of time trying to create stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to sit down with the wife, we love certain shows, and like it's crazy. But Lego Masters, I thought it was going to be a joke, but it was so much fun to watch.
I heard that was good.
That's one show I love to watch.
I'm a Sunday night HBO guy. They typically do something great on Sunday nights. Obviously, I did the Game of Thrones thing, and I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Speaking of Seinfeld, and so there's stuff like that I'll certainly sit down and watch like once a week. But I'm going to think about this answer. I'm going to retract my Spider-Man episode because that was really me just trying to throw something on the table. And I will message you, and we will put it in the show notes to later show up as what the movie is that I was disappointed in that everybody else loved.
So that's a teaser, guys.
There it is. Read the show notes.
Read the show notes. Man, you're a rock star, Ryan. I truly appreciate it. And just so you guys know, this is the first time I've ever talked to Ryan. And it's been
But not the last.
Not the last. No, not the last. It's been a fantastic experience. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being on the Freddy O Show. You are a rock star. And guys, take advantage of what he has to offer. Look at the show notes. And once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it, Freddy. Thanks for being you.
A huge thank you to today's guest, Ryan Stanley. Had a blast as always. He's a class act. Also, thank you to you as well for tuning in to today's episode of the Freddy O Show. It is much appreciated. Also, you want to make sure to go head over to winwithfred.com to check out the show notes, grab all that Ryan has to offer. It'll be well worth your time to do that. And that's it for episode number 7. This is Freddy O, and until next time, stay vigilant, keep moving forward, and stay hungry.